limitations of God. I've recently been having a discussion with a few people about things I've addressed in other videos, such as free will and God's creation of everything, including sin and hell and whatnot. And what humorously keeps popping up is this statement in varying forms from Christians that say that God had to do certain things in a certain way, such as like the free will example. Well, God had to create bad in order for us to appreciate good, or God had to allow us the ability to do wrong so that we could do the ability to do right. Things like this. Now, I'm not going to get into those discussions because I've either covered them already or I'm just not interested in doing them in this video, most of which I've already covered. But the specific thing I wanted to address was the limitations. I'm very humored at how many times I'm hearing theists say that God had to do a certain thing, or kind of the same but different, that God can't do this or couldn't do that. And I'm not talking, by the way, for those of you who will bring this up, about the argument of, can God make a square circle, or haha, can God make a stone so big that even he can't lift it? I will address those questions as they're not meant to be genuinely answered. They're a philosophical thought process, and that's what you guys who poo-poo the question don't understand. But that's not the question that I'm asking. What I'm asking is, what do you think the limitations of your God are? Because when you say to me that God had to do such and such in order to XYZ, I'm going to ask you why. What rule, what parameters, what physics were in effect that are actually controlling your God, who is the one who created everything? Now let me make this very clear for you guys, okay? If you believe that your God's the only creator, then there was nothing before he created it, okay? There was nothing before he created it. That means there were no physics, there were no checks and balances, there were no if-thens. There was nothing before your God created it. And for those of you, and what's funny is I never even heard this until about, 2 weeks ago when somebody mentioned this. For those of you who have said that something was always with God, in this case the topic was morality, and this person actually said, well, the morals are permanent or whatever. God is permanent and his morals are permanent, so God didn't make morals. Morals were always there, therefore God didn't make sin. Sin was always there because sin is a result of, just all these things. And I'm like, okay, you can try to poetically BS yourself all you want. What you are still saying is that something was in existence that was not God, that God didn't create. Okay, so first off, again, we go back to, you Christians really need to get together and decide what you do believe in, because you guys don't even agree with each other. Okay, so that's really funny to me. And yet I'm supposed to be convinced by some magical deity that can't even get you guys to agree with each other, and you're supposedly seeking him and whatnot. Please. But more than that, when you put stipulations, conditions, and limitations on your God, you're just trying to humanly rationalize what you can't comprehend, and what and I say this is good, by default you recognize doesn't make sense, and you're making apologies for, hence apologetics. You're trying to understand what's going on when your brain is saying that these two things don't make sense. So you just kind of BS your way through it. Oh, well, God couldn't have done that. Why? You're just now making a completely bald assertion. There's nothing to support that. So think about that. When you guys are saying what had to be done and what couldn't be done, you are just making shit up. And I hope you understand that. Now, if you could actually show any of this to be true, of course, you'd have a bit of my attention. But no, it's always just different people with different beliefs making different assertions about a different version of even the same God. I'm not even talking about different gods, I'm talking about the same God. Yahweh, the God of the Bible, and all that stuff. So if you're going to put limitations on your God, you're going to have to explain why. If you say God can't do something, why? Now, I will go for full circle and I will ask you this. Why can't God make a square circle? I'll give you an example. You say, well, God can't do that because a square is a square. It's something that's defined, it's four-sided, and blah, 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 blah. These are the definitions that you guys give to me. Well, if God can do anything, He's omniscient, omnipotent, He's all-powerful and all-knowing, right? If God can do anything, then why can't He make a square circle? If a square is a definitional thing, are you actually saying, are you trying to say that God can't remake something because man has already given it a definition? Think about that. Cheers.